I am no gun person. I have only fired a gun on a couple instances. When I was in Ferguson covering the riots, we went to a shooting range and talked about, gun rights and safety and things like that. And I fired, I think it was like a Glock, I can't remember. And then several months ago, maybe almost a year ago at this point, I went to an actual school. I believe it was a police academy training for firearms, and I got to fire a series of weapons from some like little tiny, I don't even know what they were. It was like a 22, really easy to fire, all the way up to something that was actually like a 45 maybe. I don't know anything about guns, so don't take my word for it. But some decent kick. They also had an AR-15 and some shotguns. It was pretty epic, loud. I have no problem with guns. I'm rather centrist on the issue. I understand people have said to me, Tim, the Constitution guarantees the right to keep and bear arms. I agree. But I also kind of feel like even on the issue of free speech in the First Amendment, we have Supreme Court rulings that change our understanding. And even today, we have restrictions on the Second Amendment, like assault rifles are illegal. They've always been. But the main issue I want to bring up is, I understand the urban-rural divide in understanding firearms. But for some reason, here's the story, Dick's Sporting Goods is removing even more guns from even more stores, despite the fact that its vocal anti-gun stance caused sales to decline. This is from Vox. Vox is fairly identitarian left. And here they are straight up saying like, dude, you lost money last time you did this. Why are you doing it again? It seems like a ridiculously bad business move. And I think Vox actually brings this up too. But let's read. Dick's Sporting Goods has announced it will scale back its gun business. In an earnings call on March 13th, CEO Edward Stack told investors that the sporting goods retailer would stop selling firearms at 125 locations, roughly 17% of its stores in the U.S. Dick's will replace these firearm sections with other categories like shoes and clothes, and will also test experimental retail concepts like in-store batting cages. Wait, what? The significant step away from the gun business comes 1 year after Dick's took swift action in response to the February 2018 shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. That left 17 students and staff members dead. In a move that sparked both celebration from gun control activists to celebrate and protest from Second Amendment advocates, the company stopped selling guns to customers younger than 21 and pulled assault rifles and high-capacity magazines from all its Dick's Sporting Goods stores, as well as from its sub-brand Field and Stream. Who shops at Dick's Sporting Goods? The people who go there to the store that sells guns. They probably don't care that you sell guns. The outdoor people who spend a lot of time in the wilderness probably don't care you sell guns. So why are they doing it? Walmart sells guns, and Walmart, as far as I know, didn't announce they were not going to sell them anymore. I understand there are concerns about firearms, but in my experience, most people who oppose the selling of firearms of various types don't know anything about them. That's why I'm rather centrist, and I'm willing to say, I think it's fine to require training and licensing on some weapons. I think it's important to point out that weapons scale up to a certain level, and we have to consider technological advancements in the Constitution. I also think it's important to point out that there is an ethical conundrum in we've expanded the Fourth Amendment protections to new technologies. Are we going to do the same for Second Amendment for the next technologies? Typically, I support the Second Amendment, and I'm rather tepid on how we should handle it because I honestly just don't know. I'm not a gun person. But I would say that as someone who typically finds themselves on the left, I'm actually more willing to hear out gun owners, law-abiding citizens, and people who have spent time around guns and grew up with them and understand the seriousness and the power they hold. I'm willing to listen to them and figure out what kind of solutions we can come to reduce gun violence. I look, and I'm saying straight up that some people think the solution is more guns, more people, and you can look at certain jurisdictions. But I got to say this too, before we read on. I don't think that crime will be stopped necessarily by giving people guns or by taking them away. There are some jurisdictions that have more guns and less crime, less guns and less crime, more guns and more crime. I don't think guns are actually the issue and whether or not there's crime. In Chicago, the issue is the culture around people who want to prove themselves. A lot of people think the gun crime in Chicago is gang related and drug related, and a lot of it is, but a lot of it is just being hard. That's what they call it. So I did some night crawling about a year or so ago, and we saw a bunch of people were killed in gun violence in Chicago. Go figure, it's Chicago, so what happens? And a lot of it was like a dude would go on Snapchat and start talking about why they were gonna, I'm gonna get your girl or whatever. And so they'd start a fight online. Somebody show up and would shoot them. It's the culture, not the weapon itself. It's complicated. But then again, listen, I'm not an expert, and there may be a correlation that I'm not looking at. I am not an advocate for or against. I typically, so I guess the main reason I bring this up is that when Vox can accurately point out that it's bad for business because people buy guns from you, like they're pointing out that why would you do this? Why would you double down? Also, I want to point out, in my opinion, it's ridiculous that they stopped selling guns to people younger than 21. That is absolutely nonsensical and asinine. But let's read on. Stack made it clear that he felt this company needed to take a strong stance in America's heated gun control debate. Thoughts and prayers are not enough, he wrote in a widely shared statement after the Parkland shooting. We have to help solve the problems in front of us. Gun violence is an epidemic that's taking the lives of too many people, including the brightest hope for the future of America, our kids. He hired 3 lobbyists to push for gun control in Congress, and the company also announced it would destroy all the weapons it had stopped selling. That's insane. While Stack stated clearly that he is a supporter of the Second Amendment and a gun owner himself, the company's actions angered the gun rights community. The National Rifle Association painted Dick's as an enemy, tweeting that it was punishing law-abiding citizens, and the National Shooting Sports Foundation revoked the company's membership. They said Dick's decision isn't focusing on the actual problem. What it is doing is punishing law-abiding citizens. What a waste and what a strange business model. And I think this is a really good point to bring up when talking about the gun issue. Most people I know who own guns do it legally. They follow the law. I'm not worried about them. They have gun cases. The guns are unloaded and sealed in cases. They have gun safes. Like, typically when we're talking about gun violence, we're talking about people who would do harm. Now, I think it's fair to point out that people on the left say, yes, but, sometimes crazy people can get guns. The challenge is our culture and not the guns. What's to stop a 16-year-old kid from getting in a car and just plowing into a mall or a shopping center? You could do way more damage instantly by driving through like you look at New York and throughout the summer, they have block parties nonstop. What if somebody just took a car full speed and rammed through? Like the fact that some people commit mass crimes with firearms doesn't change the fact that some people commit mass crimes. They've done it with trucks and cars too. So, it's based on this. I think the problem that we're looking at is mental health. And I think we're looking at a cultural issue. What is encouraging people to commit these crimes? A lot of people do it because they want to get famous. It genuinely is complicated, but let's read on. Dick's has suffered financially. One shareholder last year even accused the company of willfully giving up money. As of November 2018, its sales were down almost 4%, and many gun right advocates have pledged to stay away from its stores. In the investor call, Stack said Dick's continues to see double-digit decline. Oh my God! In its gun business, and that the company would expect that sales continue to be down. You know what it is? I think they were trying to virtue signal, hey, we're woke, liberals. And by getting rid of guns, people boycotted them. And so now they're like, screw it. Nobody's buying from us. We'll just get rid of them. Or at least 17% of their stores. Now, though the company is looking to pivot its business so that it won't lean on firearm sales in areas where it isn't welcome, as it shutters its gun business in 125 underperforming stores, Dick's will instead focus on other categories like shoes and fitness wear. Stack didn't specify which stores will stop selling guns, nor which locations will continue to do so. This is certainly on par with Dick's branding, since it is clearly not set well with Stack that the company works with Little League and school sports teams while simultaneously selling guns. Literally, those things are not related. I don't understand why that's an issue. As Paul Kemp, one of the board members of the group Gun Owners for Responsible Ownership, told me last year, when Dick's pulled assault-style weapons, what does it even mean? Dick's market is oriented at America's youth. This is a business decision that is good for their market. It's a good message that they are sending to the large majority of their shoppers, except they lost money. It was bad for them. Dick's will likely further incense angry shoppers and gun rights advocates when it phases out these gun sections, but the company might also win over everyone else looking for kayaks. I really doubt it. Baseball gear or sneakers. As Stack told one investor on the call, we are really very, very confident and excited about our business. But listen, Vox is a sporting goods store. Normies don't care so much, okay? The political battles, the culture war, these issues, and it's my experience, especially like the messages I got following Joe Rogan, that regular people aren't really that politically active. The exhausted majority, they're not running around banging on pots and pans angry about guns. The people who protested in Washington and D.C. for gun control are the same people who protest over and over again for various issues. They're the same people from the Women's March. It tends to be older women. Do you think that getting rid of guns is going to do anything? Well, what's probably happening is they're not selling anyway. So they're not getting rid of every gun from every store. But I want to point out something that's just more important. Listen, Dick's is probably going to go out of business at some point because they can't compete with Amazon. I've actually contemplated going to some big stores myself. I went to Dick's looking for a backpack for travel. I couldn't find one. They didn't have it. I had to go on Amazon. Why am I going to bother driving to Dick's to buy something when I just go on the internet? Now, as it pertains to guns, I'm not a gun expert, but I'm pretty sure you can't buy them on the internet. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not the expert. The point of this video, let me just stress, is that they did bad. They screwed themselves so hard when they got rid of guns from their stores. People were outraged and many people boycotted them. From there, it looks like people don't go to them anymore for their gun needs, and now they're forced. I don't think they're doing this for political reasons. I think they're getting rid of firearms at all these locations, 17% of its stores, because people won't go to them anymore. So the people who buy guns probably bought other things too. I'd have to imagine that ultimately this was just a bad move peripherally, right? But we'll leave it there. Stick around. I got one more video coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you then.